There's a particular kind of quiet that settles over a man when he realizes he's been living in a story someone else has been writing behind his back. Mine started on a Thursday. Now, I know, Thursdays aren't dramatic. They're not moody like Mondays or climactic like Fridays. Thursdays are the dull knife in the drawer. But this Thursday cut clean through. Ashley had been acting different. Not in the cliché lipstick on the collar kind of way. It was more subtle than that. More polished. She'd taken to wearing perfume to bed again. Not for me, God, no. That scent was for someone else, like cologne on a borrowed hoodie. She was glowing in a way that had nothing to do with skincare and everything to do with adrenaline and guilt. But I said nothing. That's the thing about being married for 10 years. You learn the rhythm. And when it skips a beat, you feel it in your bones before your brain can catch up. So when she said she was going on a solo retreat, I didn't blink. I just asked if she needed a ride to the airport. She smiled, touched my arm like I was her brother in Christ, and said, "That would be nice." That's when I knew. See, she was never nice when she was up to something. She was considerate, calculated, like a magician showing you one hand while the other made the rabbit vanish. So I said, "Sure, I'll take you." I even offered to carry her bag. And I did. I carried it all the way through terminal drop-off. She kissed my cheek, not the lips, and said, "Thanks for trusting me." Oh, I trusted her. I trusted her the way you trust a bridge you know is one nail away from collapsing. As she disappeared into the glass doors, I stood there for a moment longer than necessary, just watching. She didn't look back. Of course she didn't. You don't look back at something you've already decided to leave. I got back in the car, opened her travel wallet that she'd conveniently left on the passenger seat, and pulled out the flight details. 2 tickets. Round trip. Her seat and Jacob K. Monroe. Jacob? Who the hell was Jacob? I sat there, gripping the leather wallet so tight I could feel the stitching press into my palm. My ears rang with the silence she'd left behind. She lied. Not just the regular marital fibs. This was industrial-grade dishonesty. Going alone. Right. I didn't call her. Didn't storm back in. I just drove home. And I started packing. Not for a trip, but for an exit. She left me at the airport with a kiss on the cheek. She would return to find I'd returned the favor with an empty apartment. Coming home that night was like walking into a museum exhibit of our marriage. Everything was still there technically. The throw pillows she picked out with surgical precision. The half-used candle she lit when she wanted to seem relaxed but wasn't. Her favorite wine glass on the counter, still with a lipstick print. But something had already left the building. Me. I didn't rage. I didn't cry. I didn't even pour myself a drink. I just walked through the place like a forensic detective, tagging every memory for disposal. The drawer by the TV? That's where I found the guidebook for Bali. I hadn't known she was going to Bali. Apparently, Jacob did. His name was penciled in on a restaurant reservation card stuck between the pages. Romantic sunset view for 2. Cute. Our wedding photo was still on the bookshelf. She hadn't bothered hiding that. Maybe she figured it'd be gone by the time she got back. She was right. I didn't smash it. I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of imagining me broken. No, I placed it in the trash, face down, and moved on. My bag was already half-packed from the gym. I finished the job in 15 minutes. Just the essentials. Documents, clothes, dignity. Then I called a friend in real estate. Told her I needed a mover, a storage unit, and a lawyer, all before Monday. She said, "What happened?" I just said, "A Thursday." By morning, movers were in the apartment like a surgical team, precise, professional, no questions. I left Ashley's things untouched. I wasn't going to stoop to her level. But I did one thing. On the fridge, I left a sticky note. It said, "Welcome home." I left the same way you did, quietly, but with a plan. Then I turned off the lights, locked the door behind me, and walked away from the crime scene of my own marriage. Next stop, not survival. Strategy. They say if you stare long enough at a lie, the truth starts to squirm. I didn't need long. I already had the truth. It just needed a spotlight. The day after she left, I went through the motions like any responsible adult would. I took the car in for a tune-up, canceled our couple's yoga membership. Spoiler, I hated yoga, and sat down with a warm cup of, what now? That's when I remembered the receipts. Ashley had left her laptop behind. Normally, I wouldn't touch it. But there's a difference between respecting someone's privacy and honoring the sanctity of a liar's secrets. And the second I opened her browser, I realized she'd been very open with Jacob Monroe. Emails. Dozens of them. She didn't even bother deleting the sent folder. That's bold. Or stupid. Hard to tell the difference when someone's high on betrayal. The emails told me everything. They've been planning this trip for months. It'll be so good to finally have our time, she wrote. No more sneaking around. Just you, me, and the ocean. I opened the calendar. She had marked the flight day with a little heart emoji. Real subtle. Then there were the ticket PDFs. First class, of course. She used our points to upgrade. The same ones I'd earned flying out to her mother's funeral. That was a special touch. And just when I thought my stomach had reached its floor, I found the photo folder. Bali planning yellow heart. Inside? Selfies with Jacob at a hotel lounge. Dinner reservations snapped like trophies. A mirror shot of her wearing the dress I bought her for our anniversary. Caption? He won't miss this. Winky face. I didn't get mad. I got quiet. Because I wasn't just reading her story, I was revising the ending. I backed up everything. Emails, photos, flight confirmations, the whole novella of infidelity. I stored it neatly on a drive labeled Exhibit A. That night, I sat down and wrote her a message. Hope the flight was smooth. When you land, don't bother coming home. The lease isn't in your name anymore. Neither is the future. I didn't send it. Not yet. I had a better plan. She thought she flew away from consequences. What she didn't know was, I was waiting on the ground with the receipts. 3 days. That's how long she was gone. 72 hours of curated selfies, filtered sunsets, and captions that read like Hallmark cards soaked in delusion. I watched every post on Jacob's Instagram. Yes, he made it public. Of course he did. Guys like that always want credit for someone else's wife. There was a boomerang of them clinking glasses in a beachfront cabana. The caption? When secrets taste like champagne. I'll admit, that one made me laugh. Mostly because they were about to trade that champagne for something way less bubbly, like consequence. I didn't sleep much those 3 days. I wasn't haunted, I was organizing. Her name was off the lease by the end of day 1. Day 2, I moved into a furnished studio across town. Nothing special. Just walls, a fridge, and quiet. No perfume trails, no fake apologies hanging in the air like smoke. I even got a new number. Only 6 people have it. She's not one of them. I didn't leave a note this time. I wanted her to walk into that empty apartment with the same confidence she had when she strutted through the airport. I wanted her to feel the weight shift the second she turned the key and stepped inside expecting her life, and found vacuum. And that's exactly what happened. She landed late Sunday night. I know, because I watched her story, a wingtip over the city, captioned back to reality Blackheart. That Blackheart? Perfect choice. I sat on the edge of my bed, sipping from a coffee I didn't need, waiting. Not with rage. Not with sadness. With curiosity. You can learn a lot about a person when they think no one's watching. An hour passed. Then came the texts. Ashley. Where is everything? Logan? What the hell is going on? Then a photo of the living room, barren. Just hardwood floors and one scuff mark where our coffee table used to sit. I left it there on purpose. I waited 10 minutes. Let her stew. Then I replied. Me. Welcome back. Hope you and Jacob enjoyed the view. This one's not quite as scenic, but hey, less lies. She called. I let it ring out. She called again. I answered. Logan, she said, voice shaking. Not sad. Not sorry. Just rattled. What happened to the apartment? She demanded. Where's my stuff? Gone, I said calmly. Like your loyalty. You can't do that, she hissed. That place was ours. No, I corrected. It was mine. You were a guest who overstayed. She went quiet. Then came the panic. Where are you? She asked, trying to pivot. Can we talk about this? I let out a breath, slow and controlled. There's nothing left to talk about. You made your choice. I just cleaned up after it. But she started. Don't. I cut her off. Don't do the I still love you act. You packed that away with your dignity and checked it as luggage to Bali. Silence. Then, her voice dropped, soft, desperate. Logan, I didn't mean to hurt you. I stood up, walked to the window of my new apartment. It faced a brick wall. Not scenic, but honest. Here's the thing, I said. You didn't just hurt me. You insulted me. You lied with a smile. You kissed me like a husband, then flew off to cheat like a teenager. She sniffled. I didn't care. I trusted you, I continued. But that trust had an expiration date. You just hid it. Where's my stuff? She asked again, trying to shift back to control. Storage, I said. I even labeled the boxes for you. Clothes, kitchenware, memories. The last one's marked fragile, but don't worry, it's mostly empty. She didn't speak. Maybe she was crying. Maybe she was planning a lawyer. I didn't care. I had the receipts. I had the photos. I had everything I needed to burn the foundation without breaking a sweat. Logan, please, she finally whispered. We can work through this. I made a mistake. No, I replied, voice steady. You made a decision. She started to argue, but I ended the call. Blocked the number. Done. 2 days later, the revenge part started. Now, I'm not a petty man, but I do believe in balance. And if she wanted to trade a marriage for a vacation, she should have read the fine print on the return policy. I sent Jacob a message. No threats. Just a file. Inside, every email, every screenshot, every timestamp that showed she was cheating on him too. See, Ashley was never good at monogamy. And Jacob? He wasn't her first. Just the latest in a series. I figured he deserved to know. I never got a reply. But his Instagram went dark that same day. Deleted. Ashley, meanwhile, posted a black square on her story. No caption. Friends reached out. What happened? You okay? She replied with vague quotes about betrayal and healing. Said she'd been blindsided. Of course. They always claim to be the victim once they run out of room to lie. I didn't reply to anyone. Didn't correct the narrative. I didn't need to. Because I knew the truth. And the thing about truth? It doesn't need to scream. It just waits. And when it shows up, it walks in calmly, clears the room, and flips the whole script. Just like I did. You'd be surprised how quiet your phone gets when the truth finally leaks. 3 days after Jacob vanished from social media, Ashley's echo chamber of followers turned into a ghost town. No more fire emojis under her vacation pics. No more, you go, queen. Just silence, and a couple of comments she didn't bother deleting. Didn't you say you were going alone? Jacob's wife just posted. Yikes. This aged like milk. Turns out Jacob had a fiancée. Yeah, fiancée. Woman had a ring, a registry, and a Pinterest board full of floral centerpieces. Her name was Michelle, and unlike me, she didn't find out via screenshots. She found out via a canceled joint lease and a note that said, "Good luck explaining this." Ashley didn't see that coming. To be fair, she rarely did. She was a brilliant planner when it came to vacations, brunch outfits, and excuses. But consequences? Not her forte. While she was busy playing PR with her dwindling friend circle, I was doing something radical. Healing. Not in the sage-burning, affirmation-reciting sense. No, I didn't light candles or post quotes about self-worth over beach backgrounds. I just started rebuilding. One piece at a time. I moved into a small place downtown. Not fancy, but clean. No shared memories in the walls. Just space that felt like mine. I swapped our joint bank account for a solo one. Changed my emergency contact from her to my brother. Updated my Netflix password. Simple things. But powerful. Because every action said the same thing. I'm not yours anymore. Meanwhile, Ashley kept trying to poke the bear. Not directly. She knew better. But through mutuals, vague posts, and once, a handwritten letter left at the old apartment door, addressed to Logan, the man I thought I knew. Cute. She wrote about regret. About how Bali wasn't what she expected. How Jacob wasn't who she thought he was. How she missed our quiet mornings and the way I folded my socks. A whole paragraph on socks. I read it once. Then I used it as a bookmark. Not out of sentiment, but because I figured if she could hold a grudge for 6 months, I could hold her words in chapter 3 of a thriller I actually enjoyed. But the truth is, I wasn't angry anymore. I was focused. See, betrayal is like a fire. It burns hot and wild at first, scorches everything. But eventually, it dies down. And what's left? Ashes, sure. But also space. Space to rebuild without carrying the weight of someone else's chaos. I got back to work. Started running again. Read actual books instead of scrolling through a feed designed to sell me lies with filters. People at the office noticed the change. Logan, you look lighter. I got rid of some dead weight, I'd say with a smile. And I meant it. But don't mistake peace for weakness. Because while I was healing, I was also watching, listening, documenting. You see, Ashley didn't just cheat. She played me. She weaponized trust. She used my stability as cover for her chaos. And I'm a forgiving man, but I don't let people profit off my destruction. So I spoke to a lawyer. A quiet, sharp woman named Carla who carried truth like a scalpel. I gave her everything: emails, receipts, the timeline. And she nodded, sipping black coffee like betrayal was just another case file. You're in a strong position, she said. Depending on how bold you want to be, we can file for fault-based divorce. Bold? I wasn't just bold. I was ready to go nuclear. Because here's the twist Ashley never saw coming. I wasn't interested in revenge for the sake of ego. I wanted balance, correction, justice. So we filed. Fault-based. Infidelity, abandonment, emotional cruelty, the works. She didn't contest. What could she say? Her name was on the plane tickets and half naked in the selfies. But here's where it got poetic. Ashley had been job hunting. She left her last job under murky circumstances, creative differences, she said, which apparently meant her boss saw one too many flirty emails not intended for him. One of the places she applied? A firm I had contacts at. They reached out for a reference. I didn't lie. I didn't embellish. I just sent the HR rep a copy of the now infamous vacation confirmation that listed two travelers, Ashley Monroe and Jacob K. Monroe. Same last name. Different man. No words. No explanation. Just the facts. She didn't get the job. She didn't get much of anything, really. She lost the apartment, the image, the fallback guy, the backup plan. She texted me once more after that. Why are you doing this to me? I didn't respond. Because here's the thing no one tells you about betrayal. It's not the end. It's the audit. It's where you find out who was investing in your future and who was just squatting in it. Ashley was a squatter. And I evicted her. Not with rage. With receipts. With the divorce papers stamped and her exit officially notarized, life settled into something unfamiliar, peace. A strange thing, peace. It doesn't arrive with trumpets. It just shows up, unannounced, and takes a seat on the couch where chaos used to lounge. I stopped checking her social media. Not out of hurt, just boredom. The Ashley I'd known was gone, replaced by someone who curated tragedy and captioned it growth. Meanwhile, I got busy building. I started drafting blueprints, not for revenge, but for a better version of myself. I signed up for a cooking class. You'd be amazed what a man can do with a cast iron pan and no one to impress. I joined a pickup basketball league, met real people with real problems, and laughed more in 3 months than I had in the last 3 years of marriage. I also started writing, journaling. Nothing poetic, just truth. Real stories. Pages and pages of unfiltered reflection, like sweeping dust out of the corners of my mind. Somewhere along the way, I stopped referring to her as my wife and started calling her what she really was. A chapter I'd outgrown. But deep in the margins of those pages, I was also outlining something else. Not forgiveness. Not closure. Retribution. Not the kind that smashes windows or ruins lives, but the kind that teaches, demonstrates. The kind that etches a scar deep enough for memory. And I had just the plan. You remember the storage unit where I dumped her belongings? I didn't just pack it. I staged it. Each box was labeled truthfully, but what I didn't tell her was that I'd included a little something extra in one of them. A USB drive tucked neatly in the memories box. Inside? A compilation. I called it Behind the Scenes, the Ashley Monroe edition. It opened with a screenshot of her flight reservation. Then a slideshow of her emails to Jacob. Some voice memos she forgot were synced to her cloud. A full narrative arc of betrayal, edited like a documentary, with dates, timestamps, and the soundtrack of her own choices. The finale? A clip from our wedding. Her vows. Overlaid with. He still thinks we're just going through a rough patch. Per baby. Call me petty. I call it presentation. I left a note with the drive. This is the version of the story you left out. I figured you might want to watch the director's cut before you tell people I just snapped. Then I changed the lock code to the unit and waited for her to call me for it. She did. I didn't answer. Word got around. Not from me, no. I kept my mouth shut. But people started connecting dots. Her sister reached out. Her old college friend, Dana, the one she hadn't spoken to since the wedding, sent me a message. I saw the folder. She really did that to you? Turns out Ashley had shared her version of the story, that I was cold, that I'd abandoned her emotionally, that I snapped one day and kicked her out. But truth doesn't stay buried. Not when it's well documented and quietly distributed like an honest virus. People stopped replying to her Instagram stories. A few unfollowed. A couple confronted her in the comments. She disabled her account. She called me again. This time, I picked up. What do you want, Ashley? I want you to stop ruining my life. I almost laughed. No, sweetheart. I'm just narrating it. Time passed. She moved to another city, smaller, quieter. Took a job out of her field. Word was, Jacob tried crawling back but found himself blacklisted from his firm after his ex-fiancée posted the evidence I'd sent her to his employer. Poetic, isn't it? Everyone got exactly what they ordered. No substitutions. No refunds. Me? I thrived. New apartment. New friends. A career on the rise. One day, I got a letter. Handwritten. From her. Inside, an apology. Not a dramatic, self-justifying one. A real one. The kind that doesn't ask for forgiveness, just acknowledges the damage. She ended it with, "I was wrong. You didn't lose me, I lost you. And I hope someday I stop regretting that as much as I do now." I folded the letter and placed it in my desk drawer. Didn't shred it. Didn't reply. Some things don't need closure. They just need distance. I never raised my voice. Never broke anything. Never begged. But I did do one last thing. I published the story. Not her name. Not the details that would legally identify her, but the essence, the affair, the betrayal, the fallout. I called it The Airport Lie. Anonymized. Shared online. Read by millions. Comments flooded in. People saw themselves in it. Some wept. Some laughed. Some forwarded it to spouses with a caption that read, "We need to talk." And Ashley? She read it. I know because she emailed me under a pseudonym to say, "You're a monster for making me the villain." I replied, "Monsters don't use facts. They just feed in the dark." I brought a flashlight. That was the last I ever heard from her. No flameouts. No final confrontations. Just silence. And that, my friend, was the cruelest revenge of all. I moved on. She didn't. She thought she'd fly away from the wreckage. She didn't realize I was the one with the parachute. And I landed just fine.